The inspiration for the cathedral came from, first, this light and space artist, Robert Irwin, who did a lot of important spatial and light-based work in California in the 60s. I was reading a book filled with interviews by him called Seeing is Forgetting the Name of the Thing One Sees by Lawrence Welcher. And in that book, there was a description of a installation that he did in Paris in a cathedral. I took that idea as kind of the seed of what I wanted to make, and I developed it based on the space that it was going to live in, that space being an alleyway in Cincinnati. My name's Evan Verrilli, and I am a multidisciplinary artist based out of Cincinnati with a focus in design, illustration, animation, and just general making practices. I've also been very interested in the healing and spiritual properties of red light, in the sense that it connects somebody back to being a caveman, since it's the closest thing to firelight and candlelight. It's really nice on your eyes, feels very meditative, which gets you into red light therapy. So I combined those ideas with the understanding that it was going to be at a light festival that had a lot of noise and a lot of people. I wanted to create a space at that festival that allowed people to kind of center and ground themselves and feel present in the space versus being taken out by a light show and all of that. So it exists symbiotically and is able to, because we have this loudness, you're able to experience this quietness. And if there wasn't the loudness, you would miss the quiet. Or if there wasn't the quiet, you wouldn't recognize when it was loud. I've had some background in 3D modeling and understanding spaces, so I felt confident in being able to present and conceptualize the idea. And I sketched out something to send to the folks at Blink. I got that approved. When it came to actually realizing it and building it, that's where almost all of the work came in. Everybody can have an idea, but to be able to realize that takes so much work. It's so much work to just be a craftsperson and a technician and a doer and a project manager. And it is a bit of work to research and study and learn the concepts you're trying to convey. When it comes to actually making things and experiencing them, the nitty-gritty was the toughest and the most rewarding part. I got connected with these folks at Kemper Sauce Studios in Cincinnati. So it was Robbie and Alicia Blum, Brian, and John. I worked closely with them at the very beginning to figure out how I was going to source materials, build this thing, learn about electrical, structural integrity, mechanical engineering, and just how the actual thing itself was going to be put together with all these constituent parts. So trying to figure out what Lego pieces I needed to use to build this thing. Then was kind of an R&D stage where I worked through building the lights themselves, thinking about waterproofing, trying to understand how I was going to build the circuits. While I was doing R&D, I bought a 3D printer, and I worked with Matt Whitby to sort of set up the 3D printer, print these parts that I was going to use for the final installation, and through that was able to create pieces that I could then use in production. When I finally developed a process for building these things, there were a few different phases of the production side of things where I kind of broke down the lights into these constituent pieces that I needed to build, built each of those, then connected those, and then put them all together on the cables. So that actual production process, I think, took about 2 months and included the help of a lot of really wonderful folks. Basically, I would just call up a few of my friends, and then they would come to the studio one night. I'd bring them food, and we would spend a few hours together just building lights or cutting pieces of plastic or cutting wires. When we got done with production, there was a little bit of testing involved in just making sure all the lights work. So it was, I think I'll call it a quality control. So yeah, we finally were able to get it all done. Well, the way I would describe the experience of watching other folks experience the installation for themselves is a mix of wonder, amazement, and introspection. I've seen a lot of work created in Cincinnati that I've felt doesn't represent the folks who live and work in the city. And so being able to make something that everybody from any background could kind of go through and claim space for themselves in was really, really exciting. I'm just very grateful to be able to show something in a space where folks don't always get the chance to experience that type of, or don't always get a chance to experience that kind of wonder or just see those kind of things and connect with them. Because I think a lot of times with more abstract or conceptual artwork, people don't feel that they can be involved in that. And I think it kind of comes with this idea of a gallery in an art museum. So being able to take pretty much the exact same ideas that would show up in a gallery and show up in this blue chip kind of space and put them in a public space, I think brought down a lot of mental and emotional walls for people that allowed them to experience this as if it was just art, as if it was just you walking over a bridge or seeing a building for the first time. I hope that I'm able to show this piece or a different version of this piece in other cities. I hope that I'm able to create other installations that are of the same scale, if not bigger. I hope that I'm able to continue working with the folks that I've worked with in the past, and that I'm able to help give them opportunities which at some point either improve or change their situation, whatever their situation may be. And yeah, I hope I get connected with more artists and more people who are creative, so that way I can continue to build a network and continue to grow symbiotically with a lot of folks in a lot of different places. And I got a lot of that from Blink, which I'm very grateful for. Got connected with these folks out in London called Reality Is. Just the connections I made with the Kemper Sauce folks, Dan Shields, Taylor Pelote, and a few other folks, I think was really exciting to be able to be a part of. I hope the momentum keeps going and I'm able to keep making things and at some point sustain myself financially, physically, spiritually by making public works and making more artwork. So that's what I hope comes next.